لم تمسسه نار يكاد زيتها يضيء ولو لم تمسسه نار نور على نور يهدي الله لنوره من يشاء يهدي الله لنوره من يشاء ويضرب الله الأمثال للناس والله بكل شيء عليم. في بيوت أذن الله أن ترفع ويذكر فيها اسمه يسبح له فيها بالغدو والآصال. في بيوت أذن الله أن ترفع ويذكر فيها اسمه يسبح له فيها بالغدو والآصال. رجال لا تلهيهم تجارة ولا بيع عن ذكر الله رجال لا تلهيهم تجارة ولا بيع عن ذكر الله وإقام الصلاة وإيتاء الزكاة يخافون يوما تتقلب فيه القلوب والأبصار يخافون يوما تتقلب فيه القلوب والأبصار ليجزيهم الله أحسن ما عملوا ما عملوا ويزيدهم من فضله والله يرزق من يشاء بغير حساب والذين كفروا أعمالهم كسراب بقيعة يحسبه الظمآن ماء حتى إذا جاءه لم يجده شيئا ووجد الله عنده فوفاه حسابه والله سريع الحساب والله سريع الحساب أو كظلمات في بحر اللجي يغشاه موج من فوقه موج من فوقه سحاب ظلمات بعضها فوق بعض ظلمات بعضها فوق بعض إذا أخرج يده لم يكد يراها ومن لم يجعل الله له نورا فما له من نور ألم تر أن الله يسبح له من في السماوات والأرض ألم تر أن الله يسبح له من في السماوات والأرض والطير صافات كل قد علم صلاته وتسبيحه والله عليم بما يفعلون ولله ملك السماوات والأرض وإلى الله المصير ألم تر أن الله يزجي سحابا ثم يؤلف بينه ألم تر أن الله يزجي سحابا ثم يؤلف بينه ثم يجعله ركاما فترى الودق يخرج من خلاله وينزل من السماء من جبال فيها من برد فيصيب به من يشاء ويصرفه عن من يشاء يكاد سنا برقه يذهب بالأبصار يكاد سنا برقه يذهب بالأبصار يقلب الله الليل والنهار يقلب الله الله الليل والنهار إن في ذلك لعبرة لأولي الأبصار والله خلق كل دابة من ماء فمنهم من يمشي على بطنه ومنهم من يمشي على رجلين ومنهم من يمشي على رجلين ومنهم من يمشي على أربع يخلق الله ما يشاء إن الله على كل شيء قدير صدق الله العلي العظيم اللهم صل وسلم وزد وبارك على رسول الله وآله الأطهار على رسول الله وآله الأطهار
أفلح من صلى على محمد وآل محمد الثاني غفر الله لكم الثالثة بأعلى أصواتكم صلى على محمد أحسنت حبيبي أحسنت الفاتحة بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم الضالين بسم الله الرحمن بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم صلى الله عليك يا سيدي ويا مولاي يا رسول الله وعلى أهل بيتك المعصومين الأبرار الميامين المظلومين المضطهدين السلام عليك وعلى ولدك المظلوم أبي عبد الله الحسين يا رحمة الله الواسعة ويا باب نجاة الأمة يا عبرة كل مؤمن وكل مؤمنة ما خاب والله من تمسك بكم أمنا من لجأ والتجأ إليكم يا ليتنا فيا ليتنا كنا معكم سادتي فنفوز والله فوزا عظيما. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. أفمن يعلم أنما أنزل إليك من ربك الحق كمن هو أعمى إنما يتذكر أولو الألباب. آمنا بالله. صدق الله العلي العظيم. والسلام عليكم جميعا ورحمة الله وبركاته. My dear brothers and sisters, thank you once again for having me and giving me this honor and privilege. I mentioned to you last night that the goal of imamat, or the role of imamat, not just in the time in which they were present in front of the eyes of people, was to ensure that deen is deeply and firmly rooted inside of the Muslimin, and in fact, specifically the Shia, and prepare for a time in which the Imam will be hidden from the eyes of the people. And I mentioned to you yesterday that Al-Imam Al-Sadiq alayhi salatu was salam, he had already informed, there were many riwayat, not just from Al-Imam Al-Sadiq, but before him, after him, that the 12th Imam will come, his station will begin, and then he will go into occultation. He will disappear. And he will be hidden from the eyes of people until Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala chooses for him to return. And that in this moment, the moment of the ghaibah, it will be the most difficult for the mu'mineen. It will be as if you are scratching your hand with thorns. You're bleeding from the difficulty of it. That's how challenging it will be. And I mentioned to you that having that Imam present, imagine what it feels like. You are fortunate, mashallah, that you have Samahat Sayyid Al-Kashmiri here with you in London. I ask you, when you go and you shake his hand, and you talk to him, and he gives you advice, and he looks you in your eye, and he is speaking to you, how do you feel? You feel that someone is connected to you, isn't it? That you are engaged with somebody. If, in fact, just for a second, bear with me and imagine, he will never do this, but if while you're talking to him, he's looking this way or he's looking that way and he's not talking to you, not paying attention to you, what will you feel? You will feel there's no engagement. You will feel there's a disconnect. In the time of Rasulullah, in the time of the Aimma al-Athhar alayhim as-salam, the Shia will come, they will talk to the Aimma, they will face them face to face, they will talk to them eye to eye. They will feel engagement. Insan needs engagement. Insan needs connection. That connection is so important. Physical connection, eye to eye contact, being able to speak to them. But what if you can't? What if you cannot get that connection? And this is what I mentioned to you yesterday. That what if it is not possible for you to go and talk to that Imam directly? Or you don't have access to them? Or you speak to them and no answer comes back? At least not an answer you can hear with these ears. You feel disconnected. And that uncertainty, what does it do to you? That uncertainty makes you infirm on the path of Allah. When we do our salat every day, and we say, Ihdina as-sirat al-mustaqim, no? What does mustaqim mean? Mustaqim in English, you translate. Translation is not the meaning, it's a translation. Translation means what? The right path, the straight path, the path chosen by Allah. But when you say, Inna alladhina qalu rabbuna Allah thumma istaqamu, what does the word istaqamu mean? It means they were on the path, they didn't fall off the path. The path went this way, they didn't turn and go that way. They were firm on sirat al-mustaqim. To stay on Sirat al-Mustaqim, you have to be able to see where you're going, isn't it? I mentioned to you yesterday about marathon runners. Marathon runners who see their target, the furthest target that they can imagine in their mind, are the best marathon runners. They're the ones who win. This is the psychology of insan. If today somebody were to open a window for you and you can see Jannah, you can see it with your eyes, these eyes, you can see it. Or Allah opens a window and you can see Nar Jahannam. Will you ever commit a sin again? Never. You will never commit sin. When you can see that fire, feel the heat from the fire, you can see the Jannah that is in front of you. If you can see it with your eyes, I guarantee you will never sin again. You will do exactly what Allah tells you. But because we cannot see it with this eye, we struggle. Same goes with our relationship with our imams, our 12th imam. Ajallallahu ta'ala farajahu sharif. And that's why I will give this piece of advice to the young shabab, to the young people, to the sisters, that there are going to be moments when you have doubt, when you have shak. It's normal in insan to have shak. It's normal, we struggle through this. Why? Because Allah wants to know those of us who believe. It's normal that we will have shak. So in the period of shak, when you cannot see that finish line, when you cannot imagine the Jannah in your eyes, in your heart, when you cannot see Nar Jahannam, you cannot imagine that your Imam is standing in front of you, what do you do? What do you do? There is something in the science, I won't go into the details of it, it's called flow psychology. It's very interesting. Flow psychology, it means don't think about the end. Don't think about the result for now. Doesn't say forget it. Doesn't say pretend that it's not there. It just says don't think about it. All you need to do right now is do the work that you need, that is on you now, in this moment. My dears, how many times when we can't come to the musalla, to the sajjada, we are ready to pray, and the very thing that we are thinking about, we haven't even said takbiratul ihram, Allahu Akbar, and I'm already thinking about, will I have to eat bacha the next morning? And believe me, you don't have to laugh. I tried bacha once in my life, maybe never again. I don't know how you Iraqi brothers and sisters eat it. You're thinking already. Beyond that musalla, beyond that salat, beyond everything that is in front of you, you have already forgotten the work that you need to do now, in this moment. My dears, flow psychology, we must learn. It's a good thing to do. That in the moment you are in, don't think about the next minute after. Don't think about the next 10 years after. Don't think about the akhirah necessarily in this moment. It's not to say to forget the akhirah. Think about the work you have to do now. Don't look beyond it. This is the teaching of Ahl al-Bayt. This is ظهور القلب. ظهور القلب, you see, أئمة الأطهار, Ahl al-Bayt, alayhim as-salatu was-salam, when time of salat comes, what does the Rawi say about Imam Al-Sajjad alayhi salam? That you will see that his skin will become yellow, pale. Why? Because in this moment he is thinking about who is he standing in front of. Flow psychology is so important. We have to learn it. Why? Because this ayn is very da'if. Not only is this eye very weak, but the eyes of our heart are very weak. So what does Allah say? Allah says, use your aql. Your aql will tell you how much attention you have to give now and how much you have to use later on. That aql struggles, my dears. And that aql, I will tell you some science. Hopefully, inshallah, the shabab will benefit from this. The aql has two parts. One that is computative. You'll say, what does that mean? Okay, let me give you an example. In London, what's the major highway or main road that people will take if they want to go from North London to South London? What's the major road? It's one big highway? Yes, no? You don't drive on the highways in London. None of you do. Yallah, one of the routes. Route 25, if I heard that correctly. Huh? You come, you're going to work in the morning. You compute in your mind, I'm going to take this route, is the fastest route. It's not the straightest, but it's the fastest. It'll avoid traffic. It'll get me to work on time. You're computing in your mind. You do this every day, not just with going to work, but what you eat, how you talk, how you behave, how you interact, everything you are thinking. Your mind is a computer. It is sitting there trying to compute and get all the information. So what do? Day one, you take this one road, you go down, you're going south from North London, you see the directions, you see the traffic, you keep going. You make it to work on time. The next day you think, let me try a different one. That one took me 30 minutes. I'm going to try a different one. My friend told me it will take 20 minutes. You take another route, you go a different route to come from North to South London. You find that second route, it actually took 45 minutes. What will your mind tell you? Your mind will tell you, take the first route. Now, as you're going on the first route, that first day you were going, it was raining a lot. It was raining. And it slowed it down a little bit. The second day, when you took the second route, the sun was out. It was sunny. The third day, after going through all of this, you say, let me try another route. And you start to go on this route, and you haven't even gone 1 kilometer, 2 kilometers, you see the sun is out. This is a third route. You see the sun has come out. What does your mind start to think? The sun, does it have anything to do with the road? Does it have anything to do with traffic? It has nothing to do with the traffic. It has nothing to do with the road. But your mind will start to predict. It will say, maybe it's like the second road that took me 45 minutes when the sun had come out. And now this route, I have taken it, I'm going to get stuck. 45 minutes at least, if not more. When the sun has nothing to do with the road, it has nothing to do with the path, how much time it's going to take, none of it. None of it. That's the second part of your mind, of your aql. Every human being has this. It is the predictive part of your mind. One part takes the information, takes all the data, takes everything, and decides and constructs a plan and a result. The other part, when it doesn't have all the information, it starts to predict. Your mind wants to predict what it's going to do. Now, someone tell me, do we always have information? We don't always have information. But your mind is trying to predict to you. But look at our deen, how beautiful it is. And this is what we must teach our children. That it goes based on fact. So I gave you the example yesterday that if there's a glass of water and a drop of blood or 2 drops of blood fall into it, can you drink it? You see it with your eyes, blood dropped into it. Can you drink it? You cannot drink it. It's not allowed to drink it. Blood has fallen into this glass of water. Now, what if you have a glass of water and you hear a story from somewhere? You don't see it. You don't know for sure. Someone comes and says, I'm not sure some blood has dropped into this water. I'm not sure. Can you drink it? You can drink it because you don't know. You don't know. The water on its asl is pure. This is the concept of istishab. So Allah, He says what? The rule, it says what? You didn't see it. There's no evidence for you to have known. There's no way for you to determine with certainty. So your rule is that no, it's pure because you don't know. You didn't see the blood fall into it. So you see how the mind of insan works and how Allah's deen is teaching us to use our mind. Not just when you have all the information, my dears, but when there is no information or little information. I talked to you about the ghaiba. My dears, how many times in just the last 2 years, last 3 years, particularly the last 2 years, have people started to say, the signs of dhuhur have come. Signs of dhuhur are here. Certainly. He has come out from Syria, this person is doing this, they've killed the nafs al-zakiyya, etc., etc. All of the signs that have come, we think it is the signs of dhuhur. My dears, who said any of this? How do we know any of these things? There's no authentication of any of this. But insan wants to assign a value and some form of importance to what they see, what they touch, what they smell, what they hear. And this is what causes us to falter. This is what causes us to struggle in our lives. And that's why you see that deen and Quran and the seerah of Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam, Allahumma salli ala Muhammad, they point not only to you understanding with your mind and using your aql, but also what? That you have to have something inside of you that is going to tell your aql which direction to go in. Because you won't always have all the information. That has to be cultivated. That has to be developed inside of you. Let me tell you a story. I'm sure you have heard this. The great companion of Imam Al-Sadiq alayhi salatu wassalam, Hisham ibn al-Hakam. Hisham, Imam Sadiq alayhi salam loved him so much. One day, Hisham ibn al-Hakam, he comes back to Imam Al-Sadiq alayhi salam. Imam Sadiq alayhi salam, he says, I heard you were traveling. You went to see some people. Tell me about one of your visits. Hisham, he says, I came upon a group of students. They were sitting around their teacher. He was a Mu'tazilite. And the Mu'tazilite, what did they say in those days? That Allah had created the khalq, and although the Mu'tazili, they provided emphasis or emphasized the use of aql in their followers, they also believed that Allah created the creation and then He pulled His hand back. And He says, you're on your own, I have nothing to do with the khalq anymore, which we do not agree with because it is, وَمَا تَشَاءُونَ إِلَّا أَن يَشَاءَ اللَّهُ. Allah's mashiyah always is going to move us. So Hisham, he says, I went and I sat down. I am listening to their teacher. When he had finished, I raised my hand like this. Imam Sadiq alayhi salam, it's reported, he says, what did you ask him? Hisham ibn al-Hakam, he says, I said to him, Ya ibn Rasulillah, that I have a question, can I ask you? The scholar, the teacher, he said, ask. Hisham, he says to him, do you have eyes? Do you have eyes? The teacher, he looks, he says, young man, this is a very foolish question you're asking. You know the answer to it. You have eyes yourself. You can see the answer to this. Hisham, he says, even then, this is my question. Will you answer it for me? The scholar, he says, okay, I will answer. Ask it again. Hisham ibn al-Hakam, he says, oh scholar, do you have eyes? The scholar, he says, yes. Hisham ibn al-Hakam, he says, what do you do with your eyes? The scholar, he says to him, the teacher, he says to him, I look at all of Allah's khalq and His creation and the wind, and I look at my children and I smile at them. All the things that I can see, I see with them. Hisham says, I have another question. Can I ask? The teacher, he says, yes. He says, do you have ears? Scholar, he says, yes. Hisham, he says, what do you do with your ears? The scholar, he says, I listen to all the beautiful sounds, to the tilawah of the Quran, all of these things I'm listening with my ears. Hisham asks him, he says, do you have a nose? Scholar, he says, yes. Hisham, he says to him, what do you do with your nose? You see the answer he'll give, obviously. The scholar, he says, I smell the fragrances that Allah has created. Anything that I need, I can smell it in my nose. Same with the taste, Hisham asks. Then finally, Hisham, he says, I have one more question to ask you. Scholar, he says, yes. He says, do you have a qalb? Do you have a heart? The scholar, he says, yes. Hisham, he says to him, what do you do with your heart? The scholar, he says, the heart is very important. It has a very important role. So Hisham asks him, he says, all these other parts, your ear, your eyes, your nose, your taste, your touch, everything like this, is it independent? It can act on its own. It's its own master. The scholar, he says, no, it's not independent. Hisham, he says, why? He says, because any of those signs, those faculties, the eyes, the ears, the nose, anytime they have shak, anytime they have doubt, they turn towards the qalb and they look for an answer. They look for yaqeen, for certainty, for clarification. They look within. So Hisham asks, he says, the eye, the ears, the nose, the touch, all these senses, can they be by themselves without the guidance of the qalb? The scholar, he says, no, of course not. That is ridiculous. How can you say that? Allah has put that heart in there to be like an imam for the eyes, the ears, the nose. So Hisham ibn al-Hakam, what does he say? He says, scholar, he says, you say that Allah created this jism of every insan. He gave them the faculties of seeing and tasting and hearing. And He didn't leave them without an imam. He gave the qalb as an imam to all of these. So how would He have created all of bashar, all of insan without giving them an imam? An imam who will stay there with them? They say Imam Sadiq alayhi salam, he loved Hisham. And he loved this answer of Hisham ibn al-Hakam. But what is the point of this story? That yes, we have these faculties, but there is something inside we have to cultivate. We have to develop. We have to work on it so that whatever we see, whatever we hear, whatever we touch, its interpretation is correct inside. And that's why even the Quran, what does it say? وَمَا كَانَ لِنَفْسٍ أَن تُؤْمِنَ إِلَّا بِإِذْنِ اللَّهِ وَيَجْعَلُ الرِّجْسَ عَلَى الَّذِينَ لَا يَعْقِلُونَ. The ayah is very clear. Allah says that it's not for any nafs, any human being to believe except by His permission. Some will say, well, no, this is Jabr. This is Allah compelling us to believe. We don't have a choice in the matter. But then, what do the mufassirin of the Quran say? They say, no, that's not the case. Yes, Iman is by the mashiyah of Allah, by the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But the fact that this ayah ends, وَيَجْعَلُ الرِّجْسَ عَلَى الَّذِينَ لَا يَعْقِلُونَ, it points to the fact that you by your aql have to find Allah. That aql is located where? In your eyes? In your ears? Where is it? That aql is in your qalb. And when you say aql, you're thinking brain up here. No, I am not talking about the brain. I am talking about the basira that is inside of our hearts that allows us to see the truth, to understand what the truth is. And that is not easy, my dears. That is extremely difficult in this time in which we live. Why? Because we are influenced by everything. And you see how Imam Al-Sadiq alayhi salatu wasalam, he points to all of these things in his life. And I will tell you, inshallah, a story on this on Monday night to show you the wisdom of Imam Al-Sadiq alayhi salatu wasalam and how he taught us to frame the world around us. My dears, we see the destruction in Muslim countries today. We see the struggle of our Shia today. No, we don't. It is not hard to see what is happening in front of our faces. It's not hard for what we see to go inside our heart and create a message, to create a story of despair. That why is this happening, Ya Rab? Isn't it? It is very hard to take. That's why Iman is so important. Because yes, although we feel pain, although we feel suffering, although our hearts are breaking, they are burning from inside because of innocent lives being lost, Allah, He says inside, it is my deen, I will protect it. Don't worry. Don't worry. Understand the world the way it needs to be understood. Understand insan the way insan needs to be understood, and take care of yourself first. Take care of yourself first. Know who you are. Know that you are not being influenced. My dears, I gave you the example of the sun coming out, going down on that second route going from North London to the South London, and how it makes a difference. You think I'm joking? I'm telling you the truth. And they have done studies on this. I give this study a lot in my speeches, that even in the United States, they did a study on judges. One set of judges in the city of New York. In New York, one of the famous baseball teams is what? The New York Mets, well-known team. They went and they investigated these judges who were sitting on the court, and they're giving rulings, and they're giving punishments, and whatever it is they're deciding on. They went and asked them, they did a survey of them. They said, which team do you follow? They found one judge and a few others, they follow the Mets, the New York Mets. You know what they found? That if on a night the Mets won, the next day when the judge comes to work and he's giving his rulings, what do you think his rulings were like? Were they easy, lenient, or were they hard and severe? They were easy and lenient. Really? And if the Mets lost the night before, the next day the judge will come in, and they found invariably that these judges, their rulings became like what? More severe, more difficult, just because of the team that they're rooting for. Not only that, they did it on the weather, and they found on sunny days, the ruling of judges are what? Easier. Everyone's mood is better. Although you are here in London, I know the weather is not always so sunny. I heard this year it started with 50 days of rain. Ya Allah, I don't know how you do it. Come to North Carolina, it is sunny all the time, inshallah. See how it affects us. They went and they wanted to follow up with these judges once they showed them the results. What do you think the judges did? The judges, they said, no, we don't want this anymore. We don't want to have to see what affects us. When it's the weather in our sports team, we cannot have something like this. So imagine if this is happening to them, it's not happening to us. We are not being affected. And this is something simple like the weather. But you see, everything is impacting us. And that's why even Imam Al-Kafeel alayhi salatu wassalam, salawat ala Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad, what does he say? It's reported. He says, "Man sallata thalathan ala thalathin faka'annama a'ana ala hadmi aqlih." Who allows three things to overcome three other things, it's as if they have gone in and helped the destruction of their mind. They have destroyed their mind. What are those three things? من أظلم نور تفكره بطول أمله. Whoever comes and takes their reasoning, their ability to think, and destroyed it. وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله. Whoever has taken their thinking and has destroyed it with extended false hopes, they have done so. Not only that, وَمَحَى طَرَائِفَ حِكْمَتِهِ بِفُضُولِ كَلَامِهِ. Whoever has taken their wisdom and because of spurious and empty and vain behavior, talking and whatever it is, they have taken and destroyed their wisdom. They have destroyed their wisdom. وَأَطْفَأَ نُورَ عِبْرَتِهِ بِشَهَوَاتِ نَفْسِهِ فَكَأَنَّمَا أَعَانَ هَوَاهُ عَلَى هَدْمِ عَقْلِهِ وَمَنْ هَدَمَ عَقْلُهُ أَفْسَدَ دِينَهُ وَدُنْيَاهُ. Look what he's saying. 3 things, don't do them. Don't destroy your thinking with extended hopes. What extended hopes? Meaning you don't know what's happening now. You're not focused on the conditions now. You're thinking about 100 years from now, 10 years from now, 5 years from now. No, look at the situation now. Face what is here now and keep working and keep working. What is to come will come. And the Quran promises, أَن لَيْسَ لِلْإِنسَانِ إِلَّا مَا سَعَى. You work hard, Allah will give you. Don't worry about 10 years from now. Don't worry about 15 years from now. Do now's work. So stay away from طول الأمل. Don't destroy your wisdom with empty behavior. Stay away from empty behavior, especially talking. And lastly, do not extinguish your experiences, those that have taught you what to do, how to behave, what is haqq, what is batil. All of these things, don't destroy them, don't darken them by chasing after your desires. Because if you do that, you will be actively supporting your hawa, your weaknesses, your desires to destroy your mind. Be the master of yourself. And don't worry about all of those other things that are around you. Focus on what you have to do. This is aql, my dears. And that's why you see, today we are in the problem we are in. My dears, in the early 1900s, how many of you have heard of nuclear fission? Nuclear fission is quantum mechanics, physics, high-level mechanics, physics. Along with that, Einstein's theory of what? E equals mc squared. Very basic concepts that he came up with. These 2 concepts, people argue that they changed the way we think about the microscopic and the subatomic world. Today, they are able to look at subatomic particles, look at the collider that's in Bern, Switzerland. But my dears, this E equals mc squared and nuclear fission, what else did it lead to? Tell me. Someone tell me. A nuclear bomb. No? Nuclear bomb that was dropped on Nagasaki, right? And another city, and killed how many people? Caused so much damage, no? Insan with his aql has done one thing, but the consequences did what, unfortunately? Another great discovery. How many of you have taken antibiotics? Everyone should have taken antibiotics, right? You get sick, you take antibiotics. Antibiotics is a great thing. Has saved many lives, removed sickness from the body. But when people go in and they prescribe it without care, without understanding what the drug is doing inside of the body, what do you develop? Antibiotic resistance, no? The bacteria becomes smart. The bacteria itself has an aql. The bacteria itself has a mind. It says, okay, you're going to give me this drug over and over and over again. I will learn how to circumvent it. I will learn how to defeat it. And so what will happen? You make a stronger antibiotic and a stronger antibiotic and a stronger antibiotic that eventually has no effect. Or unfortunately, it causes damage to the human body. Again, aql is being used, but what happens? The limit of the aql is not being understood. That's why you see, we compute. We take the information, we decide, but then our prediction of what is to come next is weak. My dears, you know why? Because then it's not about the mind itself. It's not about how much information you have. It's about iman. It's about your faith. It's about what you believe in. My dears, this is what we have to teach our children. Learn. become, as Samahat al-Sayyid al-Sistani, may Allah preserve him, he says in his 100 Pearls that our children, our Shia, should be at the advanced stages of learning and professionalism. And in every field they should be top. Learn and become professionals and acute in your behavior and know how to apply it. And at the same time, balance the Iman that is inside of you, so that Iman can tell you how to view the world. So that your shahawat are not eating you and controlling you. So that your humq, your ignorance, your jahl is not controlling you. So that the weather is not controlling you. The weather is not determining who you are. My dears, become aware, because the aql is very powerful. And it's very easy, unfortunately, when the question is night or day. But what if it's not? So let me give you an example, my last example, and I will finish, inshallah. If you have a trolley that is going down on the track, in the front of the track, it splits two ways. You have a lever, you pull the lever. I give this example a lot. The trolley either goes right or goes left. Trolley is coming. You are standing at the lever, okay? As the trolley comes down, the lever is there. The lever has broken. The lever has broken. And not only has the lever broken, but it can only pull once to send the trolley one direction. So you can send the trolley left or you can send the trolley right. At the same time, the man who is driving the trolley, he sticks his head out. He says, my brakes have failed. The trolley won't stop. It won't stop. Now you look down the trail, you look down the track. On the right side, there is one person standing there working. On the left side, there's also one standing working. You know that whichever side the trolley goes to, it's going to kill that person working over there. It will kill them. Which side do you send the trolley? Which one? Right or left? One on this side, one on that side. That's it. That you don't know who they are. Two men standing there, you don't know the difference between them. Which way to send? Okay, I will come back to this. I'm bothering all of you tonight with this, yes? Imam Al-Sadiq alayhi salatu wasalam, one day, he has a man come to him who's Syrian. He's from Syria. He says, Yabna Rasulullah, I've come from Syria, from Damascus, to talk to you. I want to get some answers and ask you some questions and have some discussion with you about different things. I have heard you are a great teacher and you have many, many students. Imam Al-Sadiq, he calls one of his attendants. He says, go bring my students, have them come. They come, all of them. Imam Sadiq, he tells the Syrian man, he says, here are some students, you can ask them. The man, he says, Yabna Rasulullah, I am knowledgeable. I have studied, I have learned. I want to talk to you, not your students. Ya Allah. Imam Sadiq, he says, even then, ask them, you will find they're very good. They will give you answers, they will give you situations, and they will ask you questions that maybe you can answer, maybe you cannot answer. The man, he says, okay. He says, my first question is about the Holy Quran. I want to talk to somebody about the Holy Quran. It's reported, Al-Imam Al-Sadiq alayhi salatu wasalam, he calls Himran, his companion Himran. He says, Himran, sit and talk to this man. The Syrian man, they sit, they talk, they have a niqash, a discussion. He answers all the questions. Himran even asks him some questions, the Syrian man, who he cannot answer. He doesn't understand them. It's very confusing to him. He becomes confused. So the Syrian man turns to Imam Sadiq. He says, okay, that is the Quran. I want to talk to you also about Arabic language. Who do you have? Imam Sadiq alayhi salatu wassalam, he calls Aban. Aban comes, he sits down. The Syrian man questions and talks to him. Same way, the student answers the questions, and the man cannot answer any of Aban's questions. He gets confused. Then he says to Imam Sadiq, he says, Yabna Rasulillah, I have some questions about fiqh, about jurisprudence. Imam Sadiq alayhi salam, he says, Zurara, come. Come, Zurara. Zurara comes, he sits down. He talks to this man, same thing happens. Same thing happens. The man, he says, I want to talk to one of your students about taklif. There's a student of Imam Sadiq, his name is Hisham ibn Salim. Hisham comes and sits down, they talk about taklif. Then finally, the Syrian man, he comes and he says, Yabna Rasulullah, I want to talk to you about wilaya. They say, Imam Sadiq alayhi salam, he looks at Hisham ibn al-Hakam. He says, Hisham, come here. Hisham, sit down answer him. Hisham was very young. Remember, he was young in the time of Imam Sadiq alayhi salam. He comes, he sits down, he answers all of the questions and even poses questions to this Syrian man he cannot understand. They're too confusing. He gives him scenarios, situations, and the Syrian man does not have an answer. Finally, the man, he turns to Imam Sadiq. He says, Yabna Rasulillah, I see now that your Shia have a lot of knowledge. Not you, Yabna Rasulillah. He's not talking to the Imam. He's talking about the students of the Imam. Imagine if the students are this way, what the teacher was like. He says, they have so much knowledge. They have posed so many things to me and answered all of my questions and even given me situations where I didn't understand. I got confused. Imam Sadiq alayhi salam, it's reported, he says something very important. Okay? Now this is where I would like you just to hear me very carefully. Imam Sadiq alayhi salatu wassalam, he says in the system that Allah, and I am paraphrasing it, in the system that Allah has created for you in this world, He has created a system in which good and bad are side by side. Haqq and batil are side by side. You cannot see which one is clearly sometimes from the other. They are side by side so that you have to come and you have to ask somebody with knowledge, someone who is chosen by Allah to find out. That's how everything is. My dears, when you think about the extremes of good and bad, everybody can identify it. Let me give you an example. Going and robbing from the orphan, stealing from the orphan's money. Haram? Absolutely haram. Not just haram, qabih. Any insan, doesn't have to be a mu'min, will see this as an act that is ugly, qabih. It's not hard, it's clear, it's open. On the other hand, you see a person going and feeding the orphan, helping the orphan, taking care of the orphan. You don't have to be mu'min to see that this is good. It's hasan, it's proper to do something like this. Where do we have problem? In the middle. When bad and good are very close to each other and we cannot distinguish them, the two of them. We cannot tell. Here it becomes very muddy, it becomes very difficult, it's not easy to distinguish, and that's why Imam Al-Sadiq alayhi salatu wasalam, he says, come back to who? Ahl al-dhikr. فَاسْأَلُوا أَهْلَ الذِّكْرِ إِن كُنْتُمْ لَا تَعْلَمُونَ. Go back to Ahl al-dhikr, they will tell you, they will explain it to you. My dears, we don't fail when the good is out here and the bad is out here. Those are easy, everybody can see them. We fail when good and bad sit right next to each other. That's why, let me now ask you about the trolley again, no? The trolley comes down, one on this side, one on that side, okay? Now let me ask this question. May this never happen, may this never happen. La samahallah. The trolley is going, brakes have failed. On one side is a man, he's a stranger, you don't know him. On the other side is your relative. La samahallah. Wal-ayadu billah. May Allah protect you and your children always. What if it's your relative? Which one will you pick? I will save my relative. I'm a human. No? Am I going to lie about this? No, my love is for my child. My love is for my relative. I will save my relative. What if, change that, one on this side, 5 on that side. One on this side, 5 on that side. You'll think in your mind, the math of that makes sense, that I will send the trolley to the one, only one will die, 5 will live. Makes sense, no? But what if that one is a mu'min and those 5 are all mushrik? Now what? And you don't know this. You don't have any clue what to do. Obviously, the Shara has rules and will explain this to you. It's not my purpose to come here and explain that to you. I'm telling you about in that middle, when the good and the bad, the right and the wrong is not so clear, what do you do? How do you act? Where do you turn back to? And that's why Ahl al-Bayt alayhim as-salatu was-salam always have said, come back to us. Come back to the Quran, come back to the hadith, come back to the riwayat, and know that when there is shubha, be very, very careful. Your mind will be influenced by the weather, by what you ate in the morning, what you talked to, what road you took, all of it will influence you. Know the strengths and the weaknesses of the mind, because we don't want to make mistakes, and we certainly do not want to take the haqq of any insan. That particularly, my dears, Al-Imam Al-Sadiq alayhi salatu was-salam, he says that for a mu'min, upon another mu'min, there are 7 wajibat. Each mu'min has a right on the other, has a haqq on the other mu'min. One of them, Al-Imam Al-Sadiq alayhi salatu was-salam, it's reported, he says, Al-ijlali lahu fi ayneh. make sure that this mu'min brother of yours, this mu'mina sister of yours, that you hold them in the highest esteem. You hold them high in that esteem, yes? And let me give you an example of this esteem and I will finish, inshallah. They say in the time of Imam Al-Sadiq, there's a companion. He comes to visit the Imam. He comes into the room. Imam Al-Sadiq alayhi salatu wassalam is sitting. He's eating dates. The man comes, he says salam, he sits down in front of Imam Al-Sadiq. Imam Al-Sadiq alayhi salam, he brings the dates, he pushes, he says, take some, have some. The man, he says, no, I'm okay. Imam, he says, no, take it. I see you're worried about something. The man eats the date and he says, Yabna Rasulullah, I have seen something right now that has worried me, that has pained me inside, shaken me inside. Al-Imam Al-Sadiq alayhi salam, he says, tell me what happened. He says, I was walking in the street and I saw the jilwaz, the henchmen of the Banu Abbas, of the governor or whoever, who were there in Iraq. They were dragging a woman by her hair. They were pulling her by her hair to take her and put her in a prison. They're dragging her in the sand. And Imam Al-Sadiq alayhi salam, he says, how did this happen? What came before this? He says, I went and I asked the people who were watching the scene that what caused this to happen? What was this that occurred that they were pulling this woman? They told me that this woman was walking, she tripped, she fell, she hit something, she fell, and as she is falling, she says, La'anallahu zalimiki ya Fatima. As she's falling, she says, Allah curse those who oppressed you, ya Fatima az-Zahra. And when she said this, the jilwaz, he heard it, he got angry, he went and he grabbed her. That how dare you say something like this? They pulled her by the hair and they dragged her away. The companion, he says, Yabna Rasulullah. He looks at him. Imam has his head down like this now. He's weeping. He's weeping and crying. The name of Fatima az-Zahra, what does it do to us? He's weeping and he is crying, Imam Al-Sadiq alayhi salam. Imam Al-Sadiq, he wipes his tears. He asks the companion, where did they take her? Where did they take her? He says, I think they have taken her to the prison. They are holding her over there. Imam, he says, call one of our friends. Tell him to go stand in front of that prison door and let us know if any news comes of this woman. In the meantime, you and me, we will go to Masjid al-Sahla and we will pray for her. Imam Al-Sadiq alayhi salam, he gets up. The companion, he says, we go together, some friends, and we go and we sit in Masjid al-Sahla and we recite the dua of Imam Al-Sadiq alayhi salam. The riwayah is there, even the dua is there. That Imam Sadiq alayhi salam, he is reciting. He keeps reciting this dua, he keeps reciting this dua until finally, they say that that friend who had been sent, the companion who had been sent to watch the prison door, he comes running, he comes in, he says to Imam Sadiq alayhi salam, Yabna Rasulullah, they have released her. They released her. Imam Sadiq alayhi salam, he asks, he says, what happened? Give me the details of it. Tell me what is happening. They come and they say that they opened the door for her. She came out. They said, we will release you. The prison guard, he took from his pocket a bag of money. And he gave it to her. She looked at it. She says, I don't want this. As if to give it for her trouble. That we troubled you, we grabbed you, we harmed you. Take this money, you will feel better. She says, I don't want your money. She didn't take the money. She got up and she walked. Al-Imam Al-Sadiq alayhi salatu wassalam, he calls the companion. He takes some money out of his own pocket. And he says, go and give this to her and tell her it is from Ja'far ibn Muhammad. Salamullahi alayhima. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Go and give it to her. The companion runs. He goes. He catches up to her. He says, you went through such difficulty. The news had reached your master, Ja'far ibn Muhammad. And he has sent this for you. It's for you. The Rawi, he says, she looks at this. She looks at the money. She says, Sadiq, yani, this is from my Imam. My Imam has sent this to me. She falls on the ground and she faints. She cannot believe. She cannot believe it. That this is what the Imam has done and given it to her. And the Imam, when the companions asked that, Yabna Rasulullah, how is it that this miracle happened? She was released from the prison and you sent. He says, because she took the name of Fatima az-Zahra. And not only that, But then when they came and they gave her the money later on, she refused it. She didn't want it. She didn't want it from that zalim. She wanted it only from us. That is the barakah of what you can see and you cannot see. And that is the barakah of Fatima az-Zahra. My dears, on nights like this, we commemorate the Shahada of Imam Al-Sadiq. But there are riwayat that come to us about the door of Fatima az-Zahra alayha salatu wassalam from Imam Al-Sadiq. Related to us by Shaykh Al-Mufid, by others that are found in Bihar al-Anwar, there are. And without going into the authenticity of that door, my dears, if Imam Al-Sadiq alayhi salatu wassalam heard the name Fatima, when the woman said, La'anallahu zalimiki ya Fatima, and he began to cry. What must have been the heart of Al-Sadiq when he heard about the door of Fatima? وكأني بها في دارها وقد طرق الباب فقامت منادية من الطارق صاح اللعين قولي لابن عمك أن يقوم ويبايع وإلا ضربنا البيت نارا. The man, he came and slammed on the door of Fatima. She heard the sound and came saying, who is at the door? He said to her, tell your husband, tell Ali to come out and give bay'ah. And if you don't, we will light the house on fire. قيل له إن في الدار فاطمة قال وإن. It was said to him that, don't you know in this house is Fatima? He said, so what if it is Fatima? قيل له إن في الدار الحسنين قال وإن. قيل إن في الدار القرآن قال وإن. In this house is Al-Hasanan. In this house is the Quran. He said, I don't care. سأحرق الدار بمن فيها. I will burn the house down to the ground if they do not open the door. And it is as if this la'een on the door of Fatima. And imagine the heart of Imam Al-Sadiq. Imagine the heart of the Imam Al-Athhar for their mother Fatima. أحسست بها بين الباب والجدار فألجأت ظهري إلى الجدار ورجلي إلى الباب وعصرتها عصرا بين الباب والجدار حتى نبت المسمار في صدرها وانبعث الدم وسقط محسنا. ألا ولعنة الله على القوم الظالمين. وسيعلم الذين ظلموا على محمد أي منقلب ينقلبون والعاقبة للمتقين. إن لله وإنا إليه راجعون. My dears, in these days, take istighathat al-batul. Istighathat al-batul all the time. Ask through her name for the security of our people, of the mu'mineen and the mu'minat, for the qada of your hawa'ij. باسمك العظيم الأعظم الأعز الأجل الأكرم يا الله. اللهم إنا نسألك وندعوك ونقسم عليك بحق الزهراء وأبيها وبعلها وبنيها والسر المستودع فيها لعن الله ظالميها. اللهم شافي كل مريض. اللهم رد كل غريب. اللهم فك كل أسير. اللهم غير سوء حالنا بحسن حالك يا كريم. اللهم وفقنا لمراضيك وجنبنا معاصيك وثبت أقدامنا على صراطك المستقيم وخذ بأيدينا إليك يا أرحم الراحمين. وفرج عنا يا الله فرجا عاجلا قريبا كلمح البصر وهو أقرب من ذلك. وافرغ علينا صبرا وتوفنا مسلمين. والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا محمد وآله الطيبين الطاهرين.